everybody. I'm Jeremy Winston. You know me as the Director of Worship and Arts at Kettering Adventist Church. I'm here talking to Jason Calvert. He's Associate Minister for Youth. And listen, these are the titles that you all already know him by. And so if you are at the church, if you've been there, you see him running around doing a lot of things. He has perichoresis. He has 413. He's doing a lot of great things with the young adults. But what I want to do is I want to just have a conversation that takes it a step further. So for those people who don't interact with Jason, maybe you see him running around the hallways, you get a chance to learn who he is really. And so I'm thankful that Jason's taken a few moments out of his time with his family. He's quarantined just like everybody else. So if you see dogs, if you see children run around, this is just a glimpse into his real life. So
all part of it. Yeah,
thanks
man.
for taking the time to talk with everybody and talk with me.
No, thanks.
Yeah, everybody.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. I think this is a really fun opportunity. And yeah, it's a great space. And this is all coming out of the genius of the one and only Jeremy Winston,
right.
Extraordinaire.
That's where it ends.
Beautiful bald face.
This is where it ends. That's where the genius stops right here. This is the end of the road, brother. Hey, but listen. So let's jump right into it. I'm just gonna ask you a few questions, and I just want you to talk. I may open it up and ask you some more probing questions. So, when did you hear your call into ministry, and when did you know that this is what the Lord was calling you to do?
So I know we have a limited time, so I'll try and be brief. But basically, I was heading for juvenile hall in 8th grade after being arrested a couple times, and that's a long story. And so I just thought, that's just going to be my life, juvenile hall. And then I grew up in Chicago, and so the Hinsdale Adventist Church, it's a suburb of Chicago, Hinsdale is, they saw something in me, and they're like, listen, I know this kid's in trouble, but some of the leaders, the pastors, and some of the administrators down at Hinsdale Adventist Academy, they were like, we see something in this kid. What would it look like if we supported him to go to the academy instead? Because that was also an option, was to go to a private school. I just couldn't go to public school. Right. And so the church and the school, Doug Brown, who is a member of our church, he was the principal of the school at the time, and was like, yeah, let's invest in this kid. So they did. They sent me to the academy for my 9th grade year. And honestly, it changed my life forever and for all of eternity. It's at that school where I met Jesus, fell in love with Jesus, really started to fall in love with the church. And my science teacher at the time, an Algebra 1 teacher, Jack Pereira, I have no idea where he is right now, but he was my teacher at the time, and they invited me to speak for my first time ever, to speak for a student week of prayer. I have no idea what I talked about specifically, but I do remember the text. And after I was done with that, Jack Pereira came up to me afterward and said, listen, man, you're going to be a pastor. And I literally swore at him and said, no, I'm not, because pastors are completely irrelevant losers that are not in touch with any sort of reality. But he said, trust me, you're going to be a pastor.
Strong words for pastor.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Right.
This is back in the 1900s, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what it was like.
Yeah, right.
And so, but really from that moment on, that's when I started to think about it. And then, fast forward, by the time I was a junior in high school, it's like, no, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, is to do anything I can for other people to experience God and really his power and his generosity and his love.
So what was the scripture and what was the topic of that sermon? You said you remember the scripture.
I do. I remember the scripture because it was so terrible, and it's actually embarrassing. But it was honestly,
that's what we want.
It was one of the.
We want the embarrassing.
We
want the embarrassing.
Well, we got a lot of that content, so we'll keep. No matter how long this whole COVID-19 thing lasts, we got lots of embarrassing content. So one of the only few Bible passages I knew comes out of John 11, when Jesus heals and resurrects Lazarus from the dead. I don't know how I randomly knew that one, but that's the one I knew. And what I thought was really cool, actually, in the King James, when Jesus goes to, he has the people roll away the stone, right, of Lazarus's grave there. And his sister says, no, he's been dead for 4 days. And in the King James, it says, he stinketh. And I just thought that was so legit, right? And so my message, the thing that I got out of it, and I'm telling you, it's a terrible message.
It's good so far. I'm intrigued right now. I can't wait to hear why stinketh is what's so interesting to you. Let's go.
Right. Okay. So for me, the message was, Jesus is interested in people who stink, right? Like
Mm,
he's interested in bringing people to get closer to him. He calls people out of a state where they are messed up, where they smell bad, they look bad, all of whatever. And he says, no, I don't care about that. All I care about is a relationship with you and bringing you into a new life with me, even if they stink, right? And so I remember kind of going through this whole thing about how we stink and whatever. So that was the
great.
message. He
Let me
stinketh. And
let
it's
me say
like,
this.
listen, I stinketh. So it's all good.
Listen, let me say this. I've known you for about 2 years now. It's crazy how time flies. But you say that it's embarrassing. I think that, first of all, I think that's a powerful message in and of itself. But I can also feel confident saying this, that it's a classic Jason kind of topic. How you know how you build a very profound message on the parts of the scripture that we so easily skip by. And that's one of those things,
Yeah.
he's thinking, and it really draws us in. So, I mean, listen, this isn't a time where I'm supposed to butter you up, but I do want to just say that because I thought that's very interesting. Listen, let me ask you another question
Well,
really
thank
quick.
you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, so continuing on this idea of your work and in the church, what do you believe is the greatest threat facing Christianity today?
Oh, I feel you. Listen, I think starting in basically, long story short, Christianity, religion in general, but specifically Christianity, I fear is in this situation where we're responding and reacting to culture instead of leading culture, right? And
Mm,
so it seems like in the scriptures, even starting in Genesis, like God and his people were always pushing culture, right? Like God would operate within culture, Jesus would operate within culture. But in both the First Testament and the Second Testament, God, Jesus, his people, what he was calling his people to do, to connect with people and pushing a teaching and a lifestyle and an understanding of our relationship to him and our relationship with others,
mhm.
while it was always within the framework of culture, it was always pushing culture, not reacting to culture. And
Wow.
I'm afraid that within Adventism, but specifically within Christianity, we are a people where it's like, oh man, culture is doing this. So now what are we going to do? Right. It's
Right.
kind of like this idea of always reacting and always responding. Well, that's what we're doing. So how are we going to catch up with? And like, to me, it seems like that's not biblical. It's not historical. That's just not what we should be doing at all. So I really, and these, I think working with you, I mean, you buttered me up. I'm not going to take a lot of time to butter you up, but honestly, like you're a rock star, man. Like you do stuff, not just with your talent, but with your approach to music and your approach to ministry, I feel like is phenomenal because we're operating within a certain cultural context, but we're pushing it, right? Not just trying to react and whatever. And so I feel excited to be a part of a team and to be a part of really a movement where Christianity and Adventism specifically can be pushing culture. Like, in other words, this is where we are. This is where
Right.
culture is. This is where we are. And we got to get culture there instead of,
Instead of the other way. Yeah.
reacting all the time. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. I appreciate that. So listen, we're running short on time, but this is very interesting. And
Yeah.
but I do encourage our church members. Let's take time to really utilize this more free time that we have. For some, maybe not for others who have children at home, but to connect and really reach out to people and
Yeah.
have meaningful conversations. I'm excited to have this with you. So let's ask just some other
Yeah.
conversations, moving
Thanks.
away from the church
Yeah.
context. Tell us an interesting hobby of yours that may be surprising to some or that people don't know.
A hobby like today or one that I used to have?
Maybe one that you used to have that you still wish, and at heart you still do it, even though you may
Yeah,
not.
yeah. It's in there.
But it's in there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Andrew and I, for years, all during college, we loved anytime we could get away from school or work or whatever. We loved to go rock climbing.
Oh
We
wow. Okay.
absolutely love rock climbing. So it's a little tougher here and
Yeah.
in Southwest Ohio, but there are gyms and stuff. But yeah, rock climbing,
So so
mountain biking, cycling, basically anything outside. We love doing.
so you when you say rock climbing, you're not talking about when you used to do the actual rock climbing, like you used to go to a mountain or hill, or did you go to the gyms
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
periodic things that you had? Like you went to the real ones?
I mean, clearly you're a rock climber because you said a mountain or a hill.
Right.
All right, all right. Forgive them, church. Forgive them. Yeah, no. So what
I
we
may
like
edit
doing.
that out. We never know. We might never know.
Yeah, yeah. So we used to make fun of people that went to gyms. Now, as I'm getting older, I've now become an official adult, and I'm
Welcome,
40.
welcome.
Welcome to the club. But no, we would go to a cliff and set it up and just climb, right? So our favorite, there are a couple different styles, but our favorite was sport route climbing. And yeah, that was our favorite. So we didn't actually start moving indoors until we got older. But back in college, back in the good old days, we spent a lot of time caving, rock climbing, mountain biking, road cycling, camping, basically anything outside. Super fun.
Awesome. Also, one other one. Describe as quick as you can in one sentence your 20s.
As quick as I can. It was fun. It was fun and exciting. A whole bunch of, okay, I got it. Okay, we'll have to edit that part out.
Got you.
My 20s was all about starting the new, right?
Gotcha.
Like I got engaged in when we were 20. We got married when we were 20. Started having babies when we were in our 20s. I started pastoring when I was in my 20s, right? So it was kind of like the beginning of the rest of your life, right? In kind of all areas, personally, relationally, professionally. So which ultimately means it was really embarrassing. We screwed up a lot, but also kind of fun and exciting because that was the new for the rest of our life. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, here we go. Last part, rapid fire questions. I'm just going to just ask you a series of quick questions. I want your first response. Don't think too much about it, okay?
Michael Jordan is the greatest.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
Done. End of the discussion.
Okay, that's. I mean, you are from Chicago, so there's obvious bias there. But I happen to agree. I love to argue, but I can't argue on this topic. So we're on the same page. All right, here we go. Morning, noon, or night?
Morning.
What is your favorite movie?
Dead Poet Society.
Carpe diem. All right.
Carpe diem. Seize the day.
Seize the day. Yes, indeed. Dream car.
Yeah. A Jeep Gladiator.
Wow. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Outdoors. Along with that. All right. Yeah. Apple or Android? No, I shouldn't have asked that question. I'll keep up. Apple. Android.
Really? I prefer things that work. So
you're telling me you're married to iPhone or Apple because of popular society, but you prefer Android. I read clear through that. All right.
True. And just for the listening and viewing audience, all of our members, notice what Jeremy has in his ears. That would be an Apple product.
Samsung. These are Samsungs. Thank you for the tee up. Thank you for the tee up.
So you're saying that they took Apple's idea and style,
right,
and just made it. So what you're really saying is they're not original.
Because headphones are such a new idea. They have not been in our society for 2 or 3 decades. But nevertheless. All right. Favorite superhero.
Fair.
Favorite superhero.
Batman for sure.
All right. Listen, we end on the same page. I'm a Batman guy as well.
Okay.
Hey, listen, Jason, thanks so much for taking some time chatting with us. Hope this was informative for a lot of the church. And we're happy just, again, to take some time that even though we're separate, that we can become closer as a community and hopefully know something a little more about Jason up close and personal. Support his ministry, 413, perichoresis, all that he's doing for our youth is really outstanding and exciting. Thank you so much, Jason, for all you do.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Fun.